welcome once again to Pale Blooms and Beyond. Thank you for joining us today. Dan Bazzy is a singer, songwriter, drummer, and last original member of the New Dawn, a garage psych band from the Pacific Northwest who released the rare lost classic album There's a New Dawn in 1970. The band came together in Sheridan, Oregon in the late 60s. The original band was comprised of Dan on drums and vocals, Bill Gartner, lead vocals and drums, Bobby Justen on bass, Larry Davis keyboards, guitar, and Joe Smith on lead guitar, with various lineup changes over the years. The New Dawn seemed destined to fade into obscurity, but then, pardon the pun, at the dawning of the new millennium came a renewed interest in the album and a couple of reissues, the definitive being Jackpot Records in 2009. The band continued playing clubs up until 1995. Today, Dan still plays live occasionally and is currently working on a new album. Well, welcome, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me today, and I'm glad we got all the bugs worked out. Didn't have to call in an exterminator. So at least we'll
they're all over here too. All the bugs are on my end. I don't understand that.
That's all right. We're good. We're good now. Well, take us back to the beginning. Where were you born?
I was born in Portland, actually, and then we only lived here till I was about 6 months. Then California and back to Michigan. I grew up around Detroit.
Okay. Oh, you grew up around that Motown thing.
Motown. Actually, yeah, we had where I went to high school, and that was a little town called Wall Lake, and it was on a lake. There's a lot of lakes back there. They had an amusement park there, and then they had a huge roller rink that they turned into a place for groups to come, and a lot of the Motown groups would come there before they went out on the road. So you paid $1 to get into this place, and you might see little Stevie Wonder. You might see the Supremes. I mean, you never knew who you're going to see. They had Baby in there one night, and this was always natural. I don't know if it was Friday or a Saturday night, but you couldn't beat it for $1 going there and see these guys. But most of the Motown guys went through there at one point or another, before they took off on tours and stuff. They try their new material or set their line. I don't get it all worked out, I guess, before they took off. But so, yeah, we saw a lot of Motown.
Yeah. Well, early on when you were young, do you remember hearing music in the household?
No, folks weren't musicians at all.
Okay.
Fourth grade, there was 3 of us, me and 2 of my buddies, and we decided we wanted to get in the school band. And we come home and told the folks, and they said, well, we'll find out what it costs. And to play a trumpet or clarinet or anything like that was like $125, $150. To play drums, you just had to buy $2 drumstick.
Yeah.
So we all ended up becoming drummers from the 4th grade on there. That's how I become a drummer, because that's the only thing the folks would pay for, and their folks the same. But I was the only one that continued. One of the other guys just made it the rest of that 4th grade. Another one made it a couple more years, and he quit. And then I played all through junior high, played in the school band and the marching band, all through high school also. And that's when I started getting into groups, was in high school. So
going back a little bit, can you remember your first one of your first 45s or albums that you got?
For the 45, we cut a 45 in 69. And they just released it locally. It was their demo thing.
Right. I'm talking about from other bands, like go to the record store. That's all right. Do you remember one of your first 45s that you bought?
Buddy Holly and the Crickets, Jerry Lee Lewis, Danny and the Juniors. If it was jumping, my folks were pretty good on that. Now we had a record player in the basement, and And the basement, my dad finished it off, and he bought a record player, and then they had, I don't know how many 45s they bought, but they bought all the local or the latest
Yeah.
top 40 stuff and just put it in these all the things you open up that have all the records in them, and we'd sit down there as kids, my buddies and whatever, and play all the top songs because the folks bought them. So, but yeah, Buddy Holly and Jerry Lee Lewis and Roy Orbison, actually, Gene Vincent, and then there was some uh, doo-bop ditty groups back from the 50s that the folks like Ragmop and
Yeah.
Detour and all kinds of strange stuff for me. Oh, Elvis, naturally. We had a couple of Elvis records. And so, yeah, we just listened to whatever was popular at the time.
Yeah. Well, what about your some of the musicians that you were into, let's say, and started getting into in high school, junior high and high school, some of the bands and music?
Or that I liked. Wow. I'm trying to think back that far. Um, there was a lot of music groups that that played instrumentals like Dwayne Eddy and uh, Sano and Johnny, and because there was a lot of instrumentals back then. Not everybody sang.
Right. Ventures, the Ventures.
Yeah. Well, matter of fact, the first group I was in back there, we didn't sing at all. We just played instrumentals. So it wasn't until high school and that I started, like Louie and stuff like that came in, and Hang On Sloopy and all them things I thought were pretty cool.
Yeah.
In high school, I think it was like Beach Boys and a lot of the surf stuff, Jan and Dean, Beach Boys.
Yeah.
And some of the Motown stuff.
The Kingsmen, yeah, from up in
Yeah,
Europe.
they're from Portland, I think, weren't they?
Yes, I believe so. I believe you're right. Well, how about, you mentioned the roller rink back in Michigan? How about, do you remember one of the first concerts that you attended? At an arena or?
It had, I think Fabian was that night. And they weren't really a concert. I don't know what it was just like showing up, even like at a school dance, because it was all kids, young, high school age and stuff. And they had a stage at the one end of the thing there, and you just get up there and play a set, and then leave. And then there was no real concert to it. And then you could go up there and get an autograph, it was pretty cool.
Well, were the girls screaming so loud you couldn't hear him sing?
Him, I don't know what it was about Fabian, but yeah, the girls were all going, going crazy. A few of them, they did that too. Yeah, they just flipped out. But some of them, they just, like all of us, just listened. Of course, we were there looking for girls too. Right. There's a lot of girls there.
Yeah, that was probably a precursor to the bars and the nightclubs. You find girls there for sure. Well, what was your the first band that you were a part of?
It was a band called Spider and the Webs.
Okay, all right.
And the lead guitar, or the rhythm lead guitar, no, I guess he was rhythm guitar. Was a guy named, we nickname was Spider, and we had let's see, we had a lead guitar and a couple rhythm guitars. I don't think we even had a bass, and then me on the drums. And we didn't sing; we just played instrumentals. You name it, adventures and stuff like that.
Yeah. How long were you in with that band?
I was in that band for about probably better part of 3 years, I think. We changed our name eventually to the Shamrocks, okay. And which for just a few months. Then I went into the Marines. That was it, and he's gone. I was gone, so I don't know what they did after I left, but
How long were you in the Marines?
About 3.5 years.
Okay. All right.
They extended a lot of us. We were only supposed to be in for 3. They didn't want everybody getting out at the same time, I guess. We were the first to go into Vietnam in force in March of '65. So a lot of guys rotating out of Vietnam, they didn't want them all to get out of the Corps at the same time. So it'd come your day to get out, and then, I'm sorry, you're extended. So a lot of unhappy puppies there for a while.
Yeah. All right. Well, then you came back, and did you come back to Oregon?
Well, came back to the folks had moved to San Francisco from Detroit while I was in.
Oh, okay.
But
All right.
I come back to San Francisco. My dad had got sick. He come down with MS, and in them days they had no idea what to do for it. So it took about 2 years of having it. He was bedridden then, and so we thought, well, San Francisco is in an apartment building, in an apartment, which ain't real healthy. We thought, well, if we moved up here to Oregon or Idaho, folks could buy a little house, and at least he'd be in the country. He could sit out on the porch if nothing else and just look at trees or birds or whatever. It was better than being in an apartment in the middle of San Francisco. So I got out in, I think it was October of '66, and come home to San Francisco and then helped them pack everything up in U-Haul and that stuff. And we moved them up here. They bought a house in Grand Ronde, which is just west of Willamine and Sheridan there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
My,
Some nice country there. Yeah.
oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful here in Oregon. I love Oregon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Better than Detroit. Yeah.
I've only seen pictures and on TV. I haven't been there. One day
Oh,
I
where are
want.
you located? Where are you at?
I'm in outside of northeast of Dallas.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll go.
Right. That's quite all right. That's quite all right. This is flat land. We have nothing around
Well,
here.
I remember that I drove interstate for a couple of years or whatever, and going through Texas, it about blew us right off the highway a couple of times.
Yeah.
It got pretty windy down there every now and then.
Yeah, we do have winds coming through here. We've had it recently too. So, well, talk about the Sound Citizens when you joined them and how long. That
Well,
was the precursor. That was the band became the New Dawn, right? Is that
that
right?
was to be done. Yeah, we got our first actually paying gig, which was a high school prom, I think it was. And like I said, we didn't sing at all. When we started, we just played instrumentals, and we needed a name, and somebody threw that out there. So the school wanted a name, so we gave them a name, and we hurried up and painted it on the bass drum. But after we played the next practice that following week, we all agreed that the name sucked, needed to change. So nobody liked it. Why we even put it on there, I don't know. But so we brainstormed, and somebody, I'm not really sure whether it was Larry or who it was, threw that out, the New Dawn out there. I don't know whether he was looking in the kitchen at the sink or what, but everybody said, oh, yeah, that ain't bad.
Yeah.
So that was probably about June of '67, and we officially became the New Dawn.
Okay.
So, and then we played for the next couple of years locally in parties, and then we started playing the local clubs around here.
Okay.
And also decided that if we're going to go anywhere, one of us better, gut up and start singing, because you ain't going to go very far as an instrumental group. So I don't know why. A lot of people, you put a microphone in front of them, they just freeze up.
Yeah.
But I decided to try and started singing. And, I think the first song we learned was Satisfaction.
Okay. Yeah.
Really hard. Or Louie Louie, we learned that one too. So I had the Louie Louie down pretty good. And we still played quite a bit of instrumentals too, but we started picking up Rolling Stones songs, Jumpin' Jack Flash, and all these were new songs when we learned them. Now they're antique, or old classic rock, but these are just hit the charts when you learn a lot of this stuff. And I just kept singing more and more to eventually we were almost 100% vocals.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, were you guys was the chemistry good from the get go with all the members?
yeah, we all got along. We were all friends and got along pretty good.
Yeah.
They made me. I don't know, it was because I had more experience. I don't know what the deal was, but they made me the leader of the group. So I turned out to be the mean one, the butt. I'm the one. They would come to me and complain maybe about another one. That way I would get after the guy, and then those two wouldn't have any friction. And so, and it seemed to work out pretty good. I didn't mind them being irritated with me. And, and I tried to keep them. I mean, I wanted to go on. I wanted to not just play clubs. I wanted a recording contract. I wanted to get out there and, make records and travel. And so that was the goal. And every now and then they'd come off the rails there. I come to work one night and we were playing a club in Salem, and it was hot summer evening, and we always wore the same stuff, like outfits. And this outfit had like white, I think, bell-bottom trousers, and it had this black and white shirt with these big black collars, and we wore a black vest. And I come in, and they just had the vest on. And the organ player, Larry, looked like a bear when he didn't have a shirt on, And I mean, these guys looked like, I don't like Sonny and Cher. I mean, it was bad. I said, "What are you guys doing?" They said, "Well, it's hot. We're not going to wear our shirts tonight." I said, "Oh yeah, we are." And I made them get their shirts back on, and I got a lot of stink eye that night. But at least we went on and looked professional. It didn't look like a bunch of cavemen up there, So I was always one, the stickler, that.
Well, so Dan, you kind of took on wore the hat of the manager too, as well, right?
In a sense, yeah. We didn't really. Well, I guess we would consider our booking agent kind of the manager, because we were on the contract to him, and he's the one that got all our bookings, and he took the 10%.
Yeah.
Well, he was kind of the manager. I was the one that had to go in when we got back and talk to him, and I was the one that the club owners chewed on if we were too loud or we did this or that. The other guys didn't have to worry about that, and I thought, well, that's okay. So I mean, that's just the way it worked out. And it's probably why I don't have any hair now. So.
Well, you mentioned that you played a lot of clubs and locations around on the West Coast. Do you
yeah.
recall any particular shows that stand out?
No, there was a couple of clubs that were really great. We played a club down in Reno, and just being in the Reno area, was actually in Sparks, which is actually like part of Reno. And I mean, it was just there's something about the place down there, and plus it was just packed every night. It was in a kind of a shopping center type deal. The lounge was. They had a bowling alley, and they had a restaurant, and then they had the lounge, and they'd be lined up, 3 or 4 wide, all the way out the door and down the block, trying to get in the club, and then the club was packed. And we would joke about it because the club manager looked like mafia. I mean, this guy looked mean. He had scars on him, and he didn't smile at all. And they had like 4 bouncers, and you started any trouble in that club, and they were on you, and out the door you went. I mean, it was, and he would go like that for us to take a break. He didn't mind them dancing a little bit. He wanted them drinking though. And if they're up dancing all the time, they're not drinking. So he'd make us take a break, And we weren't used to that. We were used to playing 45 minutes, take a 15-minute break, We might play 20 minutes, and then over here he is giving us the get off the stage thing. So we'd take a break, There you can gamble on anything. So Gartner and I would go out and play the pinball machines and win nickels, and stuff like that. And then pretty soon he'd the back door to the club is right there by the pinball machines. And he'd, all right, you're going to go on back. So we go back in, start up again, and get to playing a while, and then he'd cut us again and send us back, you know. So that was a different deal. There was a neat club in, what was it, Richland, Washington. It was kind of a Greek, you know, kind of motif or whatever. There was porcelain statues everywhere, and the whole back wall was this big, heavy, heavy duty, excuse me, blue velvet kind of curtain from ceiling to floor, the whole width of the back wall. The whole back wall was glass. And they had I swear it was a motor from a DC-6 and its prop to suck the smoke out of the club. And every now and then they turn that sucker on, and you know, you just visualize somebody being lifted off the dance floor. Boy, it emptied the club out. I mean, it emptied the smoke out of that club in a heartbeat, and they shut it off, you know. They had, what really caught my attention is I sat on one end of the stage, and they had a little stage next to me where they had topless dancers, you know. So I'm trying to concentrate playing, and this girl's over here jumping around, spinning castles, and then the other end of the stage was another one, you know. We take a break, and they take a break, you know. And so that was interesting. But yeah, there was a few clubs like that that were different, that were memorable, a lot of fun.
Yes, I would say so. Well, do you remember, did you get to open for any notable acts or any acts that played along the same bill?
No, we got bumped by, there was a period at the end of the 60s, early 70s, where a lot of these big name groups were, I guess, were looking for places to play or something. And I think the club owner said it was like the Kinks or something. We got bumped out of the Reno thing by the Kinks. You know, we were scheduled to go in, but he got a chance to get them, so we were out. But normally, no, they didn't come down to our level, the big names and stuff. We did play Portland here in, I think it was 2009 or somewhere in there, 2012. I can't remember now. But Jackpot brought in a group called the Remains, and they were the group that opened for the Beatles from Boston. From Boston, yep. And so we opened, in a sense, for them. I guess we were the first to play, so we played our album, and it was a pretty good crowd there to hear us. I was surprised, because that's all we were playing. We weren't playing any top 40, and then they came on and played songs from some of their, I guess they had 2 or 3 different albums, and but they did a lot of cover stuff too, you know. And I don't know whether the people understood that, because all of a sudden took off with "Hang On Sloopy," and I'm thinking, wait a minute, these ain't the guys that did "Hang On Sloopy." But yeah, they were a pretty good group, and but that's I think the only time we shared the stage. We've shared the stage with other bands, but they're all been local. We played a couple of fireman deals, like in football fields for benefit type deal for the fire department, and there'd be 2 or 3 bands there. And I mean, we've been in this area so long that we've got a pretty fair following still. Most of them are like me, they're gray, but we actually play a dance, and you get their kids and you get their grandkids, and you played for them in high school, you know, their grandparents, you know. So it's, I mean, when you're around 50 some years, you know, we started in 67, so here it is, what, 24, 27 will be, what, 60 years, I think.
See, right, yeah.
So
that's the longevity right there. And
half our fan base has passed on. So,
well, that says something about the band that you know, you have had that the following, you know, staying with you all these years. Well, going back to prior to the album, There's a New Dawn, you guys would write and record the tracks after these live shows, right?
No, that was later on. We did. We recorded. I think there's one on the album that they recorded at a benefit concert we did in the early 2000s. I think it was It's Raining. But the three songs that they put on the album were from a tape we recorded in '71, a demo tape.
Oh,
And Isaac put that on the album when he released it, those three new songs. Those are the songs that our manager sent. You would send your record or your demo tape or whatever to different labels, and you may hear back from them, or they may send you a letter returning your tape or your record, or they may just send you a letter saying they're not interested.
yeah.
This guy, the A&R guy for ABC Dunhill, called our agent. He wanted us to come down. He was interested in signing the group.
Yeah.
And our agent told them that, they're booked for 6 months in advance. I want you to come up here and see them play. Well, A&R guys have got groups trying to beat their door down. They don't need to come up here and hear us play.
Yeah.
So opportunity knocked, the door opened, and we didn't step through. I wish I could go back in time, because I'd have drugged the group down there in a heartbeat, even if the agent wanted to sue us. Get down there and play for them and maybe get sick. We got signed by ABC Dunhill. I mean, we'd have been out opening groups like $3 Night and Steppenwolf. And
Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
Well, that's what, going back to the album from 1970. Do you recall where it was recorded and the recording session or session?
Yeah, it was recorded in Salem. Our agent, I got to get it readjusted here.
Sure.
It comes with age.
I got you.
Our agent, Gary Nealon, he had been the drummer in the Champs from Tequila fame.
Yeah.
And it was a kind of a company group. I mean, the record label owned the group, and they would put people in, take people out, and so on. Well, he was with them for a few years there, and they played bandstand and all that stuff. So he was our agent, and he knew a lot of people naturally. And what was the question?
That's all right. The album, there's a New Dawn. Not your only album from
where was it
1970.
recorded? Yeah, so he had a
recording.
He had like a 16 track or one of the big one console you see in his basement, and it was walled off, soundproofed, and so we went down and set up, and we recorded it basically just as if we were playing it, but everybody was mic'd. That way he could adjust volumes and stuff like that. But we were playing in a club in Salem, and then we'd get off at 2:00 and maybe have a beer afterwards, and then go right over to his basement there, and then we'd work until everybody was so tired they couldn't do nothing. And we did that for the better part of 2 months. It took about 2 months to record the album. Yeah. And we did that all.
You guys must have been pretty beat from playing the live shows, and then to go in and record.
Oh yeah, yeah. Of course, a little bit of beer was consumed too, and we ordered pizza a few times, and it was kind of fun. I mean, we'd never really been in. We had recorded that 45 the year before, but that was only 2 songs. So to actually do an album, it was all new to us. So it was kind of exciting. And several of the songs Gartner and I wrote in the studio. We didn't have 12 songs when we started. So, so a couple of them we wrote while we were in between. Somebody else was doing something or redoing a lead guitar or whatever. So we were messing around with our own stuff. They're trying to write new songs. And everybody keeps asking, was there a concept for the album? No, we just needed a bunch of songs to record. There was no concept, really. So
I did want to ask you about the album cover. Who took the photograph? Do you remember? That's really nice picture.
Gart liked to mess around with camera and taking pictures, and we were playing in a club in Corvallis, Oregon, and that's west of Corvallis. It's called Mary's Peak. It's in the Coast Range. And we got off work at, it's one of those other deals. You get off playing and then we all relaxed for a little bit at the club. Usually you had a beer or a drink or something after we were done to unwind a little bit. And then we'd all go home or sometimes we'd practice even after. And we all jumped in the car and took off west there and went up in the mountains there and come up on that big clear cut there. And you could see the Coast Range there. And I mean, you could see the Cascades. That's what's in the background is the Cascades. And the sun was just coming up. And that was the whole concept, was try to get there right when the sun's coming up.
Right.
And it was cold, you know, I mean, it was a pretty cool morning up that. We were up like 3,000 or 4,000 feet, I guess. It wasn't real high, but so we basically all bailed out of the car. Gart set the camera up and snapped a delayed thing and run like crazy to go over and get in the thing, you know. Yeah, it was luckily you couldn't see our faces because Joe was cold enough. Joe had snot hanging out. I mean, it was bad. If you could see the faces, he'd think, "Holy mackerel!" But yeah, that's the one we picked, and we thought, well, that's just perfect for a new dawn, you know. So, and then I recorded an album in a contemporary Christian album in 2006, and I used a similar picture from down on the Coast Range, Cass Mountain, and that I took a picture of the sun coming up and used that on that album cover.
Yeah.
So, and this new album will have similar. It'll have the same picture as this album, except all the guys will be gone except me. And it's called Memories, and it's just songs that I wrote back when we recorded that album. If we'd have went back in the studio the following year and recorded an album, a lot of these songs would have been on that album, along with 3 that are on the album now that we had on the demo tape. And
so you had other demos recorded. That's what I was going to ask you about too. You had some that were already recorded that just weren't published.
Well, those 3 were the main ones. We didn't do a whole lot. I mean, we messed around. We all had recorders at home and stuff that we'd screw around with, or they'd record a song off the radio that we wanted to learn so we could play it over and over again. They'd try to figure the words out, or what is that chord, you know, one of them type deals. And that's how we learned our new material. They recorded off the radio and then go with it.
Sorry, that was my son just stepping in for a second. Well, I wanted to ask you about. Well, originally there were only like 500 pressed. You know, not a huge amount. Yeah.
Right. There's 500 original albums, period.
Right.
And a lot of those were destroyed. I mean, somebody'd leave them in a car or whatever, and they'd warp them, and they'd come back. Yeah. So sometimes we'd give them a new album, feeling bad for them, you know. But I mean, after a while, you get to thinking, well, you know, take better care of your record. And they were micro-grooved too. They probably only should have had 10 songs. Yeah. So supposedly they micro-grooved them so they became very bass sensitive. And even if you had a good record player, you'd have to put a quarter or 2 on the stylus for weight, or it'd skip. You know, they'd get play and boom, it'd be. So they'd bring it back. Say, this record isn't any good. Well, try putting 2 quarters on. Oh, okay. And they'd come. Oh yeah, we're great. You know. Yeah. So yeah, so some of them anyway. A lot of them. I don't know how many of the original 500 actually survived. We left a lot of them in. We put some in Payless and Salem and Fred Meyer's and in Albany and Payless in Albany too, I think, and I can't remember what other stores. And then we were on the road touring, you know, around the Northwest here. I never bothered to go back and pick them up. So at some point in time, they just put them in the bargain bin, or one of them bargain bin dealers come in and bought the whole thing there. So every now and then one turns up. And they're, like I said, that one sold a couple of years ago for $2,000. It's their collector's item.
You
And
know,
a lot of people don't know what they've got there if they've got an original. So
right.
yeah, you can't hardly find the originals.
Yeah.
And I have
That's what,
boxes of them.
wow. Okay. That's what I enjoy about doing this. One of the things is the rarity, of a lot of these albums. And a lot
Yeah,
of the people I talk to on here, or, they only did the one album or maybe a couple, and they are collector's items. And
right.
it's just interesting how people decades later, will be hunting through the boxes and for at record stores and find these rarities, and then like you said, they sell them for God.
Oh yeah. Well, we had a guy from New Jersey fly out here, and there was a store somewhere that had like 5 or 6 of them
Yeah.
that he must have found in a deal like that. This guy flew out from New Jersey and bought them all and took them back. So like I said, I used to have boxes of them, but I think they come 25 to a box, and let the kids have a few of them. They were flinging them around the yard and like a frisbee. Yeah. So I look back on that and I'm thinking, oh man, uh, I got one myself, just one original,
Yeah.
and so one of the daughters put it in a frame, and
There you go.
yeah,
Well, I wanted to mention a few tracks off of that original album, and get maybe your take, maybe some background info or inspiration behind the songs, if you remember. It,
yeah,
right? Let me throw that in. Uh,
yeah.
I like the whole feel of the album. It's pretty mellow for the most
Mhm.
part. I like that.
Well, we consider ourselves back then. We thought of us as kind of light rock because
Yeah.
you had back then you had Vanilla Fudge and Iron Butterfly and stuff, And here we come, So we played a couple clubs that did not like our music because they were into the just grind and screaming stuff, and we didn't do that. They'd hear In the God of V and we'd do Sugar Sugar, something like that. What? Uh, but there was only a couple clubs that Gary booked us in that we probably shouldn't have been in. He booked us in a Western club in Baker, Oregon, and we upset a lot of cowboys. But
Okay.
they come up just some Western music. Well, we didn't know any. Only thing we knew that was kind of Western was Creedence. We could do a whole set of Creedence.
You know what?
So playing
You know,
Creedence. Now it's okay. They get out there and start
you're right.
dancing.
You know what? You just hit on it. I was going to mention that I hear a thread of Creedence through several of the songs on that album. I hear,
Wow.
especially in the rhythms. I
Uh-huh.
I hear that. I hear Creedence Clearwater. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. They came and listened to us and picked up on that.
right. You heavily influenced that. right. yeah.
Quick.
I hear that. Hear that.
No, we
Well,
did a lot in '69. Uh, we did a lot of Creedence because they were popular, and that's all you got requests for was Proud Mary, or well they call it Rolling on the River. That
yeah,
first,
yeah.
I don't know that one. What is it? Well, you guys played it last night, and then you figured out it was Proud Mary, and yeah, they had all kinds of weird names for the stuff. But after a while, you got to know what they were wanting. But we did a bunch of them. Um, them and the Stones was another one we did a bunch of. So Jumpin' Jack Flash, Brown Sugar, Start Me Up, you know.
Well, whose idea was the nature sounds and the waves and the birds on "There's a New Dawn"? The first.
Uh, Gary had I don't know, was a Disney album that had all these sound effects on it. If you listen to After It's Raining, you'll hear a rainstorm and a
Yes, right.
tree crying, and this is all off of a Disney sound effects record.
Is that
And
right? Okay.
it was fun to put it in there.
Yeah.
It's raining, and all of a sudden, boy, there's one heck of a storm at the end of that song, and you'll hear a guy even laugh in the background. so, so I'm not sure what movie that was from. But yeah, that's what was playing for Gart's song there, and several of them had that in the background here and there. So
Yeah, yeah.
just
I was going to ask you about that storm if you actually went out and recorded it, but now you're telling me it was from a Disney a
we
Disney
were
album.
on the mountain, and we run for cover, but it rains like that around here.
Yeah, I bet you
And
do. Well, the I like the message, the lyrics in "It's Time." And I think it's still appropriate today. Very
yeah,
much, much.
several of them. Now I've had people tell us ever since I released the contemporary Christian album, especially, that a lot of those songs are what they call dark Christian,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever that means. And like "It's Time" and "I See a Day." Uh, well, there's one of Gart's songs there. But anyway, yeah, like, they were, in a way, they were my protest songs to what was going on, at the time, kind of. But yeah, "It's Time." That was, Gart played recorder on that, the
Recorder. That's what my question was. It sounds
yeah,
like a flute. It sounds like a flute, but it's a recorder. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. He
That
was good on
makes sense.
that. He played, on that new one that, I got to readjust here again. That new one that one of the three that we put on there, "We Need Each Other." He plays harmonica on that. He was good on the harmonica, and on the recorder, he was a heck of a front man.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd really get into it out there, and then every now and then, like I said, he would get up and he'd play the drums, and I'd go out and be the front man, and or try to be. I wasn't anywhere near as good as he was, but he could really work the crowd. I mean, he'd get wrapped up in it, and he was. We were playing a club here in Mac, I think it was, and they had a drum riser, and it had a metal rim
Oh, okay.
between the top and the side, like an aluminum thing, trim. And they had a strobe light, so Dart loved the strobe light.
Yeah.
And he was in a lead, or maybe I had a drum solo. I can't remember now, but he dropped down on his knees in front of the drums, with his had the microphone and the cord, and he was giving her that. Well, he got a little carried away, got too close, and he smashed his forehead on the front of that rim
Oh,
on the drum thing, and the blood started running. So then he stood up, turned around, and faced the crowd with the blood, and they're, yeah, they got freaked out. They thought it was part of the show, I
the
guess.
show.
So he milked that pretty good, but yeah, he was quite the front man. He really got into it.
Right.
Worked the
Yeah.
crowd, talked to him, not a bit shy about anything. So, and then good vocalist too.
Got the crowd worked up. Well, "It's Raining" must have been either a band favorite or a crowd favorite because you redid it on the live at the live
Yeah,
show in what 2008.
people seem to like it. Yeah, it's kind of a romantic. Whoa,
Oh, oh.
the wife just
Jack
left the
Perry.
front door. He's not happy, or she's not happy.
What's
Uh,
her name?
Lexi.
Lexi. Okay.
And then we got a little chihuahua called Lacey. Lex.
My dog hears your dog. He's barking now.
You're not barking.
Maybe we should let the dogs carry on from here, and they can talk to each other.
There you
go. But yeah, I like anytime before I hear a song, if I see it's about rain, I'm probably gonna like it. I'm probably
go.
gonna, because they're usually pretty melancholy, and that's the kind of music I
This is the cool stop the rain.
yeah,
And,
right, right. See, there you go.
one other one.
Yeah. And then another track off there that I enjoy was "Hear Me Crying." "Hear Me Crying" is another one. Yeah, the organ I think makes it on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the organ playing on that one.
And see, that's another thing. Larry left the group in probably in August of '70, something like that. He retired from the group because he had a boy that was starting school and he wanted to be home. And Steve Howard from Yakima joined the group, and Larry played just like a I can't remember what the brand name was, like a Roland. I mean, it was just one of the same things on a stand organ. Steve Steve had a B3, and you had to have, four angry men and a goat to load that thing. I mean, it was like picking up a car and putting it in his van, but the sound was, well, like vanilla fudge, and it got it to be the iron butter. I mean, it's B3, and he had a Leslie, so he could flip the switch there, and what the Leslie did. So I mean, that really changed the sound of the group pretty good too. There,
Yeah.
Steve joined the group, and he was with us till we come off the road at the end of '71. So, but he gets very, unfortunately, I forgot to mention them when I did a bio for Northwest groups or something like that. And one of the ex-wives called me on it, well, you didn't even mention Steve, Well, I really felt bad, but he's mentioned now because Steve sings. He's got a Bee Gees type voice, So he sang several Bee Gees songs, and he could really play good keyboard, and he plays guitar too. So he was a definite asset to the group.
Well, I take that back. One last song, Last Morning, I like. Nice track, and I like the spoken word part and the jazzy guitar riffs. It's a little different than the other tracks on there. It's got kind of a jazzy guitar. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I said, with Joe, you never know. He's the lead guitar player, or Gart may have had some little thing that he threw out there, and Joe took it and expanded on it. But yeah, that's one of Gart's songs, and that one, and see, everything we do now, they call it psychedelic, which I don't understand, but we're psychedelic rock now.
Yeah.
But one of Gart's songs, I don't know, it was Last Morning, or Life Goes On. Might have been Life Goes On. One of them, some guy, some critic in Europe voted it as the best song to commit suicide to. Oh, great! Nice. That's a nice thing to have on your album.
That's what we were going for, right? Yeah. Oh man. Underhanded compliment. That's funny. Wow.
I watched the bruise from my glands, and I guess it sounds like a guy dying or something. I don't know. I never did ask Art about it. Maybe it is a deal like that. But yeah, this critic in Belgium, I think he was.
Yeah.
So see, that's what amazes me is we get emails. I get emails from all over the world.
Yeah.
A guy in one of the bands in Japan has got everything that we've ever released in whatever form it came out in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure he's got an original album, but he's got a CD. He's got the black vinyl album. Then Isaac come out with a blue vinyl with orange splotches in it, which was kind of psychedelic. And he just come out with this orange. Supposed to be orange metallic, but it just looks like orange vinyl to me. But so he's come out with all these different. Well, this guy buys every one of them when they come out. Fans in Brazil that keep writing us, and we've even got them in Saudi Arabia. I would figure they, I don't know whether they would like that, but I guess some of the youth there do. But yeah, from all over, we got some kind of correspondent. And I've been trying to get him in Israel, see how he's doing, how he's faring. But he did a lot of stuff on the group years ago.
Yeah. I reached out to a Israeli musician. He was from around the same time period, and his agent said, "Well, it's really touch and go right now, So
yeah, depends on, I guess.
Yeah, and I thought about that at the time I sent it, but I said, well, it's food for thought. If things get better over there, maybe we can pick it up and talk about doing an interview or whatever. But yeah, I'm really open to do people from all over, But again, what you just said, I mean, music, it just shows how universal it really is. And
like
how
I said, it blows my mind because it's sold a little bit here and there ever since we released it in '70. those 500 albums. Somehow we never sent them overseas.
Uh-huh.
They were sold around the Northwest here, but somehow they ended up probably from college kids, like in Oregon State there in Corvallis, probably bought an album and took it home with them back to wherever, you know. And but next thing I knew, there was a record label in Italy making our album and selling them.
A karma, yeah.
Karma. And I wrote them, you know, of course, I didn't know all the laws were. It shows how stupid I was. And I was just raising Cain with them, you know. Well, how dare you, you know. Like, what? Because they just paid the mechanical rights and they can record all they want, you know, as long as if it doesn't make it on the radio, then I get broadcast rights. But yeah, they pay their mechanical rights fee to the Italian thing there, and then they can make all the copies they want. Well, I didn't know. I was, yes, you're robbing me. I was really, you know, adamant about it, and they were just kind of snickering at me. So I finally learned the law and thought, oh, okay, well.
Well, as long as you're taken care of, yeah. As long as you get your, you know, your take and on that.
Well,
and, you know, they're not robbing. Yeah, I wondered how that worked. I wondered. Thanks for sharing that. I wondered how that worked. Well, now you did, and you mentioned this earlier about the recording the 3 demos in 71, and then ABC Dunhill showing some interest, but again, they had so many others that were talking to them at the time, and you guys didn't go down and see them. So
yeah, he wanted us to come. He was really, for him to call us, really showed a lot of interest because, like I said, they don't normally do that. And for him to call our agent and ask have us come down and audition for him was almost tantamount to saying, if they come down and I like them enough already, but if they come down and they pan in a bunch of flakes, I'll probably sign them, you know. And for some reason, you would think that Gary, who'd been in the business, you know, been on the road with the Champs, and I don't know whether he just didn't have faith in the group or he had another group that he was grooming for Vegas, a club group, you know, to play in the big showcases there, the Dart. And I think he was involved with them, and because he had been in that group, and then he got out of it to become a booking agent. And for some reason, I guess we were just the stepkids. I don't know. He didn't take it seriously, and he could have. Who knows? I mean, if we'd have signed, there's still people. That's what gets me. There's still people that like songs on the album to this day. Who knows what had happened if a major label like ABC Dunhill had took that album, re-recorded it or whatever, and re-released it and put something behind it, you know.
Right.
We could have been out ourselves, you know.
That's what I was going to say is you know, it's a shame because I've heard this story recounted over and over and over doing these interviews that there were 2 bands that a label were interested in, and they put all their money and everything promotion behind one band, and then let the other one fall. You know, and it's a shame they couldn't have equally backed, or I don't understand the thinking back why. You know, you couldn't do 50-50 or something like that, you know.
Well, it depends on the label. See, back then, the last label I would have signed with was Capitol.
Yeah.
Capitol had thousands of groups signed, but they might promote one if it looks like they might be popular, and the rest of them would just starve to death. But you run the contract to them. The difference, ABC Dunhill was smaller. They only had say 100 or so clients, and they promoted them all. So if you got signed by them, you knew if nothing else, you were going out on the road, like I said, fronting for one of their major groups like Three Dog Night or Steppenwolf or whatever their main groups were. You'd probably be on the road fronting for them, you know, opening up. Where Capitol, we sent one to them and they said, send it to our affiliate. We're not, oh no, I sent a letter to Apple Records in London.
Oh, okay.
And we got a letter back. I got a letter back, and I don't know. I'll have to see if I can find his signature. It looks like it's signed by John Lennon, but we're not doing anything on that side of the ocean at the time. Go talk to our, partners, Capitol Records. We're just not taking groups from over there over here right now. But thank us for sending stuff and being interested. But yeah, I don't know why, but I just thought that'd be fun, and I sent one over there and got a response back. But
you never know. Yeah, I mean,
well, you never do. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Talking about the demos, those 3 songs. I really think that you guys were finding a new confident sound and identity.
Mm-hmm.
It just sounds like, when listening to that music. And unfortunate there was no follow-up album, but it would have been very interesting, kind of what your point earlier, to see where the songs and the band would have gone with a new album, with that type of material,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I think it's head and shoulders. I mean, not knocking the first album, but I think that just it really is the quality and how the band was gelling and coming together and forging that new sound. I think it was just really, really top notch. Especially like
people seem to it, at the time.
Yeah, especially We Need Each Other. I think that could have been hit material. I mean, I like the funky rhythm in that, and the harmonica. They work really well together.
Right, that together again, yeah.
Yeah, on that track, it stays in your head long after you.
Yeah, it's kind of hand jive beat to it.
Yeah, right. And it's a little reminiscent of, I don't know, it's around the same time period, but the Guess Who and American Woman.
Oh yeah, we did that too.
That's funky. yeah, it's a little reminiscent of that. But
and then we did a couple of Bachman Turner Overdrive too later, which was the Guess Who basically without what's his face with him.
Right.
So
and then a woman. I like the drumming on that. Is that you? Is that you?
Yeah. That'd be me. I wrote it, and Gart and I wrote, I think 8 of them, and Gart wrote 4, and we sang our own songs. And then the other guy would, like on Gart, Last Morning, that voice in the background where he's talking, you hear, that's me. And then he's singing, and I'm doing the frog voice in Dark Thoughts. You might never even hear it, but it's Dark Thoughts. When he's putting that, I'm just in the background. Dark Thoughts.
That's you, okay.
And, so we covered each other, as far as throwing stuff in there, and he was singing harmony like on We Need Each Other, and on different stuff on It's Raining. And so, yeah, and he had that Chicago accent, he threw it. I mean, he couldn't help it, but it sounded different when he was screaming it, and he wasn't a bit shy about screaming it either, like in Do What You Want To. He's really
he does bellow there. Yeah. Well, when did the band call it a day? Was it 71? Was it that same year?
Oh, Come Off the Road, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, we come off the road at the end of 71, but I mean, I've never called it a day. The band, to me, is still together. I mean, like I said, it might take a couple, 2 or 3 weeks the sandpaper on me trying to knock the rust off, but we could, within a couple, 2 or 3 weeks, probably go play a venue if we had to. So if they're not playing, I mean, like I said, the son's in another group, and they play almost every weekend. And the grandson's in a group, and they play quite a bit also. So it would be hinging on whether the son was free or whether he was, committed to Old Crow there. But yeah, we could actually do it. But like I said, I've never officially pulled the plug yet. That's why we're doing another New Dawn album. The reason we don't play is because of me. I'm getting late.
Yeah.
So
What did you want to talk a little bit about your driving a log truck when
Oh
you
yeah,
think
that's another place my hair went was driving. But yeah, I drove log truck for. Well, I started it about the same time with the group. Uh, I started driving steer trailer, and you'd sit at the. You'd put these long poles on the truck, and then in the trailer, you had to have a steer trailer because you couldn't make it around corners and stuff.
yeah,
And it was like a long fire engine, you know,
right,
and
right,
about 30, 40 feet of overhang behind me, behind my bunk that I sat on. And you're sitting outside, you're sitting your house, they call it a house. It was just a piece of L shaped, it had a floorboard and a windshield, keep the bugs off you, and a steering wheel. And it bolted right to the bunk, and then you connected the steering thing. And then go through a corner, you know, and if there was a building or whatever, I'd hold it out till the truck kind of got around the corner before, you know, and then I'd have to watch the overhang and kind of guide it in between there. So you got to guessing distances. The bad thing is you couldn't see the passenger side of the load.
yeah,
So if the road puckered, I mean, I could very easily drive right off into the canyon because I couldn't see over there, you know. The only time I see my front end is if the truck turned right, then I could see my steer tires. If it turned left, well, the whole thing disappeared, you know.
yeah,
And all you could see was the road over here, and you tried to keep the trailer over. You'd visualize the road on that side, you know, and hopefully it was the same all the way around there because you'd come off some, you know, all these logging roads. You never knew what you were coming off of sometimes. But yeah, that's how I started. And he taught me how to drive truck, and he'd let me drive back sometimes. And then once I got proficient with that, he'd let me try to drive kind of to the mill or towards the mill until we got into the traffic, and then he'd take over.
oh,
And apparently they thought I did well enough when they had an opening. They pulled me off the steer trailer and put me in a truck. And then from there, I just kept driving different outfits, but kept driving different type of trucks too. I mean, it wasn't all log trucks. Some of them were chip trucks, flatbeds, you know, hauling lumber, uh, the pole trucks, the highway trucks. I got into that too, hauling containers and the big 53-foot logistic vans, you know. And the wife and I did the whole 48 state thing, and for a year or so, year and a half, we worked hard at it till we went broke. And so yeah, we got around. It was a lot of fun. It was almost like camping. You know, we had a
no
good
way,
size 7-foot condo. I mean, 70-inch condo, 70-foot.
yeah,
Uh, so you know, and she had it set up pretty good in there. We had a crock pot and a coffee maker, and sometimes she get stuff going like a soup or a stew
yeah,
before we quit for the day. You could drive 10 hours, and you had to
right,
take 8 off, you know, or whatever, and she might start a stew or something a couple 2 or 3 hours before we got to where we were going to stop. So you're sitting there, oh man, you know, it's smelling good, and you still got to go, you know. So, but you know, and if you filled up, you got a shower.
oh yeah,
So
there you go.
fill up, and we go in and use the shower facilities, and then go back out. And most of the time, we ate something in the truck. We tried not to spend too much up in restaurants. And, get up the next morning, she'd make coffee, and we had a TV and a DVD player and a little like a little refrigerator, little ice box, and
Like
we
you,
didn't get a microwave. We were going to get one,
yeah,
but
like you
we
have a camper, like you guys, yeah.
pretty
Like,
much.
well, that's the thing. I've always enjoyed driving. Long distances and things like doesn't bother me. So at times I thought about, maybe I should pick up, be a truck driver. But I don't think I could ever get the clearance thing. Like
Oh,
you talk, going around corners, I'd be knocking off telephone poles, and that to me is I don't know how you guys did that. I don't know how
And
you
you
get.
kind of get used to it, or like you said, a lot of it is depth perception, but you do kind of get used to it. And there's a lot of guys that never get used to it. They're still running over stuff. Uh, what gets me is there's guys that couldn't back a truck up if you paid them, and they're out there driving the interstate. They just
Right.
can't back up. They're crooked or all over the place. I've seen a couple log trucks. A log truck is probably one of the easiest things to back up.
Yeah.
And they're all over the yard trying to back under this boom, to get unloaded. There are trailers off over here, and they pull up, and trailers off over there, and you're waiting there to get unloaded. Come on, you want me to back it for you, buddy?
Yeah, let
No.
me do it.
So,
Oh, my. Well, back to the music. What prompted the reunion show, the 2008 reunion show?
well, I think that was when Isaac brought the remains out.
Okay.
Because to me, there was no reunion. We'd been together. We still played.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why they called it a reunion. But because we played back in that time, too, we played a local concert here for one guy had cancer and was about to lose his house, behind on house payments, and another guy, kid, got in a crash and he had no insurance and for medical bills. And we played a benefit thing there and I think we took in $4,500 or so, almost $5,000, and split it to those two. So the guy saved his house, and the kid had money to pay towards his bills. And then we had seems like we had two other bands come over and play with us, and I don't know whether they call that a reunion or what, but I'm not sure where the reunion come from. But
And your son played on the reunion. It must have been fun, a lot of fun playing with your son.
oh yeah, it's great. It's that, and it's like I said, seeing people. When we started playing, they were in high school. Now they're grandparents, and their kids are there, and their grandkids are there, and it really makes you feel old, but it's cool.
Yeah.
But I enjoy having the kids or grandkids at the concerts or wherever we play. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Have you played with your grandson?
No, played for him. When he was just a little guy, he must have been 3 years old. They come to a dance we played at the VFW here locally, and he was so excited, but he got sick, and so his dad said, "Well, I'm going to take him home," and he was just crying, "Oh, but I want to rock and roll," Yeah, he's been, around the music and that, just like my kids have. I can remember them being little.
Yeah.
We played a couple of venues in a football field where they pulled flatbed trailers out there, and we set up on the trailers for the crowd out in the grass, and the kids would sit up there on something and watch us play.
Yeah.
And then we did the thing we got a friend that used to do Denny, the Flying Irishman. He used to jump cars and trucks, and he jumped a log truck. That's one of the pictures on the album there. He jumped a log truck with us. We played for the crowd until he got ready to jump, and then we stayed up there and he jumped over us. And he just looked like he was just right there, as he went by,
I was gonna say, man, that'd be a scary moment.
Yeah. He was quite the showman. He wanted to set up a deal in Reno where we would play for him. He wanted to jump from Harrah's across Virginia Boulevard to Fitzgerald's.
Oh, okay.
This little city in the world sign is.
Uh-huh.
And he wanted us to come down and open for that, see? But he could never get permission from Fitzgerald's to land. He got permission from Harrah's to launch, but he could never get permission to land. So
is he still around? Is he still living?
Yeah, he's still locally here. He drives truck. He's got his own little truck, and actually, he did something here not that long ago. How long ago has it been since Danny jumped that? Has it been what?
A couple of years.
Been a couple. 3 or 4 years ago. He's my age, and he jumped 2 highway trucks, over here at the Air and Space Museum here in McMinnville. You get in your late 70s, you ain't supposed to be out jumping motorcycles like Evil Knievel. I mean, that's crazy.
Evil, yeah.
Yeah, I think he broke the vertebrae when he landed. So he probably won't do that again.
I doubt it. That'll teach him.
He's still local. He's still around.
Well, one more question I had was about the Jackpot release.
Uh-huh.
Were you surprised when? Who was it from Jackpot that contacted you before?
The owner, Isaac.
Okay.
I still pronounce his name, Sluzarenko.
Yeah. Were
Were
you surprised? What was your reaction when he?
I was surprised, but I wasn't, because we were getting emails from all over the world. People wanted the album, were interested, and they couldn't. I finally started the website online.
Yeah.
And had a lot of people tell me right off the bat that, boy, they've been looking for information on the group and they couldn't find any. And all of a sudden they found the website. Well, I tried to put everything I could on there about the group and where you could get the records and stuff like that. So there was an interest there. And then, like I said, especially when the Karma, and there was one other outfit that did it too.
Yeah, it was an unauthorized one. It was from Sweden or something,
something like that. Terrible. I think they had a blue label. The new blue label. Right. But anyway, Isaac said, he was interested if I would be interested in it. I said, it sounds great to me. And so he did it, and I mean, he did a top-notch job on it. I mean, it's got a little booklet in, like the CD's got a little booklet in it. The album, the cover sheet inside the album's got all kinds of pictures on it, and he really did a heck of a job on it. So
2 commercials from it.
Well, you got 2 commercials from it. One from I can't even think Vista House or something like that. They make swimsuits and wetsuits, and they wanted Proud Man, and they X amount of dollars to be able to use Proud Man in their commercial. And then another one was I think it was HBO had a series called The Deuce. I think it was about pornography or whatever, and they wanted one of our songs. And they paid pretty good. It was several $1,000s. So, I mean, that part of it's been pretty cool until the end of the year when you got to pay taxes on it. But, so we're always hoping, some big guy like Ford will decide to use training or something, Just failed.
Well, you never know. I mean, you said you're still getting contacts, emails, and all that from fans, and this kind of gave you a new lease on life. That release, comprehensive.
Well, like I said, if we ever get the new album done and out, that might hopefully generate a little interest too. If they like the first album, hopefully they'll like the second. I don't know whether we can capture the same sound. I mean, the songs are the same style, but Joe, I don't have Joe's fuzz, so we've got a couple fuzzes, but I don't know whether we can get them sounding like Joe's did. But we'll see. And but it was kind of a unique sound.
Yes, it was. Well, it's great, continued success with that. You don't know about you haven't really started on that album. It's
well, I've started, but it's out. My recording studio now is out in the garage.
Okay.
And it's been cold here. And so
it's not a good time.
Near the garage, let alone try to record anything. I'm hoping that this spring, when it warms up a little bit out there, because the grandson is watching at the bit, he's got his part down and practice his song. He's ready to do it. He wants to rock out now. You know, he sings vocals in that other group. And I'm kind of curious to see how that turns out. And the son is eager to get going too. So I've been the stick in the mud there. But I put them all down because the son kept teasing me about, we got to do this because you can turn around and drop dead tomorrow. He said, and then all them songs would be gone. So I'm all on there. So what they do with them, if something did happen to me. Hey!
Sounds like your dog's chomping at the bit too.
Well, we got the 2 dogs, and you can't give the little chihuahua anything with that animal in the house. So we throw a little bit of the food out there in the garage, and then take the chihuahua in here. Well, she inhales her stuff, and then she's beating at the door wanting back in. It takes a while. And when you screw up and let her back in, she'll run right over and eat all the chihuahua's food. See, so you hear her, she'll growl after it. She'll bark, 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 and then
yeah, like
oh,
that's funny, dogs. All right, well, Dan, I appreciate your time, and we'll look forward to that new album. How can people track that, or just check back with your Facebook?
They can, Facebook, the best place would be the website. And that, I don't know, see, it used to be, that was another thing. Host Baby sold out, and to Bookzoogle, or whatever that is, Bookzoogle, I think it is. And Host Baby took care of the domain name as far as keeping up on it. So I was spoiled after so many years with Host Baby. When Bandzoogle bought it, Bandzoogle, that's it. When they bought it, they don't do that. So I lost the newdon.us. That's what I've been for years. Now it's newdon.xyz. So I've tried to change that everywhere I think, but yeah, they'll find if we release it, it'll be on the website, or word about it will be on the website. And it's going to be a while. I mean, done this year or not, I'm not sure. It's just, I'm getting pretty slow.
All right. Well, I mean, we take that in consideration, and your fans do as well. But I'm sure there's a lot of people out there eager for that. New Dawn XYZ, and check back for that periodic. Yep. And I appreciate your time, Dan. And it's been enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, I thank you I've never done this before. Like I said, I've done a couple of interviews where they send me the questions I got to answer. Boy, that's brutal. This is kind of fun. I wouldn't mind doing one of these every other day, but that.
Well, that's the reaction I get. I get a lot of people, they're kind of apprehensive at first, if they've never done one. I was before I did it. I was scared to do one before I ever did it, But then once you do, I get that back. I get that and say, hey, it was enjoyable. It was fun.
Yeah.
So
well, as the guys you entertain like me, I mean, I don't know how many times I've been up on a stage, and how many over the years, how many thousands of people we've been in front, and that it's not that we're not mic shy or anything, but I'm really not mic shy as far as one-on-one and stuff like that. This here doesn't bother me a bit. But like I said, I've had people come when we're recording stuff that they want to get in on it, And I said, okay, yeah, you can sing harmony, and here you give them the mic, and boy, everything tenses up, and they go from singing like this to singing like this, and just relax, and they get really. The microphone really screws them up.
Yeah.
So don't use that. Okay. That's okay. I won't. Yeah. It just takes to get used to it all.
Yep. Exactly. Not everybody's cut out for that. All right. Well, what I'll do is once I get this edited a little bit, I'll send you the link, and you can put it on that the New Dawn, and also on your Facebook, a link on if you want to, and then do a kind of response and reaction, and what kind of what kind of generate, with that. So
Might be a lot of people unfriend me. I don't know. You never.
yeah, you never know. You never know. That's right. Well, you have a good rest of the weekend. Thank you again, Dan, and we'll be in touch.
You
Keep in
do.
touch. All right, and all the best to you. All right.
You too. Have a good one. Bye bye. Now I probably won't be able to get off here. Couldn't get on that quick.
I know. Now you're stuck. All right. Bye bye for now.
Okay. Hey.